That's all it is, really. Like, you don't want to give to credit to a certain people, right? Of a certain color or a certain background, enough credit to say that they built this great civilization. But you're telling me you believe that aliens came from outer space and built these things. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta laugh at it. Knowing, like, my family came from a country that was colonized, right? And then I grew up here, like, in a system of white supremacy. So it's like, you grow up, as a child, sometimes you don't know, like, the dynamics, right, of how politics and how things work. But as you start, like, to develop and you grow, like, you kind of just, like, realize that, hey, you know, a lot of people who don't look like me have a head start. So, like, you grow up subconsciously, like, I'm ready to work. And not just that, it's like, you try to make your parents proud, man, because they didn't go through all that trouble for you to be a failure. So there's that part of it's like, it's pushing you, it's driving you. And it's just like, for me, like, the culture and that sort of thing, the reason I'm so, like, big on that is I really feel like, and I believe this 100%, that if you don't really know where you're coming from, you won't know where you're going in the future. You got to know your past so you don't make the same mistakes that other people did, like your ancestors did, so that you can build a better future for you and your people, right? And essentially us as a global community, right? So for me, it was a time where, like, in my teenage years, like, I was in high school, I started reading a lot about, like, the Nubian kingdoms, and I realized, like, yo, this is where I come from. My family still speaks this language, it's still alive, even though it's, like, on the verge of extinction, right? But people still speak it. So I'm like, I gotta do something about it to let the world know. So I had a story to tell. You know what I mean? And this is like, when you read and you gain certain knowledge, like, man, I got so many different stories to tell, and people don't really know this in this part of the world. So let me present these stories in a way that will attract them, right? So through hip hop, through whatever, through rhyming and rapping, and I can still, like, combine both sides of me, because as much as I am Sudanese, I'm American because I grew up here, right? I was influenced by this culture. This is who I am, right? And one of the hardest things is trying to choose, like, where you belong, where you're accepted. And you can come across a point, for me at least, it was like, well, I'm not really American. And then when I go back home to visit, they call me American, right? You're the American boy. You're not really Sudanese because you didn't grow up here. So it's like, well, where do I belong? And when I truly, like, became at peace with myself is when I realized and I embraced that I'm all of these things together, and I don't have to look for confirmation from anybody. I don't need their approval. This is who I am. And that's when I feel like my music kind of started to develop into what it is. And it's just that acceptance of who you are really brings you peace to yourself. It brings you that inner peace.